Hey everyone, so I am right now at the Mcdade Trail in the Delaware Water Gap in Pennsylvania on my way to another short road trip. I stopped here because I noticed that this river had started flowing again. Last time I was here, it was frozen. It felt appropriate on my way to the first stop to stop here and kind of give you just a brief overview of what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be hitting the next 3 high points. We're going to be doing Connecticut first, then Rhode Island, and then Massachusetts. And those are the 36th, 31st, and 46th high points respectively. So we're getting some of the back end ones done. These are 2, Massachusetts and Connecticut are 2 of the higher ones that I've done so far. I've only done New Jersey and Pennsylvania, which were 33 and 40, I believe. I took a brief break from this channel and my tarot channel, mostly on this channel because I had a cracked windshield that cracked when I came back from the Pennsylvania high point, Mount Davis. I got back and noticed that the corner of my Gorilla Glass windshield, which is not supposed to crack and break, but it had started cracking on the corner, and I believe it was a stress fracture or some kind of just freak accident. But that happened at the end of October, and I ended up doing the Jersey High Point because it was close by anyway, but I didn't feel comfortable going on overnights. And I tried my best to get it fixed through the Jeep dealership, which I have to say, honestly, was a frustrating situation, and I got the runaround. And it was because of the mileage I'd put on from the first trip, and because it was a larger than 3-inch crack. I think it was like 4+ inches, but they gave me the runaround, and it was a really difficult situation that I ended up having to go through Jeep Wave and Mopar, and they didn't end up fixing it. So I ended up just paying it out to get regular glass put in, and just called it a wash. The guy at Jeep Wave is taking the paperwork from the fix, and he's going to still try and get me my money back through a reimbursement program. I'm just glad it's fixed. So that was number 1. Number 2 was about 5 weeks ago, maybe now, end of January. I slipped and fell on black ice on one of the local trails I was on and really screwed up my arm. In fact, I don't have full rotation right now, and it got really black and blue. I'll put that picture right here. But it was pretty painful, and was sort of in like a makeshift sling for a while, and just kind of had to wait it out. And so I took that as a sign from the universe that I was supposed to just be still for now. And I noticed that today and the next couple of days are going to be nice, and the temperature is going to be kind of in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to get back out on the road to start checking some of these off. My arm isn't fully healed, as I mentioned, but it's enough to do these lower elevations, and with the weather being nice and the ice and snow going away as we speak, it seems like time to get back on that horse and to keep going. I feel like I have the universe's blessing after the bruise that I just showed you finally went away. So we're headed to Connecticut right now. I'm going to show you what I did with the back of my trunk in the Jeep, but I'm going to make a new video later on when I perfect it. This is sort of a trial run. I'm sans Bengal, so she's staying home. Let me show you that now, and I'll get back on the road and we'll get to the first high point, which will be Connecticut. So as I mentioned, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what I did with the back of the trunk. I'm going to keep it brief because it's not final, and it's just some elements that I know are going to be taken over to whatever the new setup will be. But as you can see, I have the full back now made. Once I move my bag to the front when I sleep, I have my reflectors. What I ended up doing, which I think you saw in the video before this, was I took the seats out that flipped up, the flip up seats, and that gave me more room with that passenger seat all the way up. So now I have a full length here to be able to sleep with my feet in. The thing that I added that will be, let me pull out here. The thing that I added that will be definitely carrying over, and I'm not going to undo the whole thing here, but if you can see here, these foam panels, which were decently expensive but worth it, I got at Joann Fabrics, and this goes the whole length of the back up to the seats. I've evened out the space between the seat and this cushion area to kind of get rid of that indent, and now I have these foams here with the foam covering. And if I can show you over here, I had 2 panels cut on top of the storage container underneath. So this is on this side, and I have one for the other side that's not in. I'm sort of just keeping it as a backup for right now. What I'm gonna end up doing is cutting a hole in this to be able to put my shoes in easily, in and out, so this doesn't move. It's kind of loose in here right now, but this pad is wedged up against the back seat, and so I can now put my head here and my feet will go in with the door shut. Okay, so we are here at the high point of Connecticut, which is Bear Mountain, and we're going to be going up the Untitled Trail, as you can see back there. It takes us part of the way, and then we're going to have to shift onto a different trail to hit the peak. I have my All Trails tracking running, so at the end of the video I will show you the route I took. But this is the 36th highest peak in the United States and the highest peak of Connecticut, so excited to get on this trail. I got some new boots because the other boots were a little too heavy for this trail, as it's going to be a little bit of a climb compared to tomorrow's. So the first thing I'm noticing right away, as you can tell, this is a pretty icy trail. So I'm definitely gonna take my time, as I just showed you my arm was put out of commission by some of this ice. And so I don't wanna have to fall again. And I'm a clumsy person, so we're gonna be very careful here so that I don't screw this trip up before I even get it started. So we definitely have a little bit of packed snow here, which is good, but there's definitely a difficulty curve because there is a lot of ice. So trying to step on rocks and shit. This is a nice little stoppage spot because it's really dry. I came from down there and now we're going up there. So hike is getting interesting. We're getting pretty high, but about halfway, about a mile and a quarter in, so let's keep going. Okay, so we're at the end of Untitled Trail, excuse me. And this is the sign I was looking for. So this way will be Bear Mountain, the peak. I guess that way is the other trail that goes kind of around and down, but 360. Got some nice views already, so let's keep on going here. Yep, so about mile 8 to the peak. This is a really cool part of this path. It's getting somewhat drier in spots, but as you can see, it's like right on this brook, creek, whatever. And there's these panels to walk across. This is a really very interesting part of this trail, and it's right after you get off of the Untitled Trail and you turn up towards Bear Mountain. It's windy, but it's a really cool part of the trail. Okay, so we've made it to Riga Junction, which is where the trail splits into a few spots, but just thought I'd take a moment up here, catch my breath. And it's funny because I just passed a gentleman going down where I came up, and he asked if I had spikes on my shoes, but I didn't, so good to know. Maybe that'll help in the future with the higher ones. But he said he came up from the other side of the mountain, so it was worse over there. So that was my little bit of spirit telling me at least I picked the right one for my footwear and for the conditions. So I think we're gonna keep going. So we got about 0.9 miles, about a mile left. Got some good views here. And it is getting a little windy, but almost there. So we made it. 2,323 feet. It's definitely windy up here, so I'm on this rock mountain, so we're gonna try and do a 360, but it'll be tough. Let's get the other camera going. So as you can tell, these rocks being exposed are really the only way I was able to do this without those spike shoes, because it's icy as hell and the rocks allow me, you know, a place to step, you know, without slipping. But the other thing too is if I didn't have long enough legs to kind of hop to them, it would be really difficult to do this. So he's no doubt right about the spike shoes being vital, and I might get poles, I might not, but those are definitely, not the shoes, the spikes that go around your boots are pretty vital. So I'm gonna have to find an REI. I mean, just to reiterate, this is what we're looking at going down, and it's hopping rock to rock because that's all ice. So it's really important that you step carefully, especially if you go during the winter. So I just got back in the car and I just realized that parking here, mirrored number. So who knows what that means, but it means something. That was about a 5.5+ mile hike, and the time's a little skewed on the image I'm about to show right here, but it was about a 3-hour hike there and back, out and back. The extra time I kind of was on the mountain and just sitting and looking at the sights, and I forgot to pause the all trails. So next time I'll remember to do that so I can get a more accurate time for you. But it's about 3 hours and 5.5 miles, as I said. So number 3 is off the list, and now it's time to get some food and find a place to sleep tonight. Well, as you can tell, we had a little bit of a change of plans. So when I got to the Walmart parking lot that I was going to stay in, it had signs posted that said no overnight parking. And so I've been using RV Parky to, the app RV Parky, to find Cracker Barrels and Walmarts to sleep in the parking lots. And what I've come to find is that you have to look at the review dates, because it was posted as allowing overnight parking, and it was highly rated, but there were 2 reviews, and both were, well, one was from 2015, one was from 2017. So I'm assuming in that gap of 5 years, they changed it, because it's red signs all over saying no overnight parking. And there was a back lot that kind of maybe was questionable to stay, but I kind of sat there for a while and just didn't feel right about it. So the only other option was 30 miles north. That had 3 reviews and said it allowed overnight parking, but online it said that someone recently went and they didn't, the person manning the door, I guess at Walmart, did not seem to think that they allowed it. So it was questionable, and I didn't want to drive 30 more miles. So there's no Cracker Barrels nearby, and campsites are all closed for winter. So we're making do, and gotta spend the money, get a night's sleep, good night's sleep in this king size bed. So it's not all of a loss, but I don't get to try the bed out. I'm gonna just pop over to Jerimoth Hill, I believe it's called, which is the highest point in Rhode Island, and that's like 400 feet of elevation, super easy hike. I'm gonna have to try and figure out the best way to do this. In the winter, it's gonna be hard because, like I said, the campsites are closed down, so that really limits the amount of places you can go, and RV parking is not entirely reliable, I guess, with the reviews, as I mentioned. So it's gonna be something I think is gonna be more pertinent during the nice weather when I'm going south and west. And you know, I did it a couple times on my last road trip, and it was fine in those parking lots, but I think it's more acceptable out there. And here, you know, the Walmart 30 miles away was the only one that said it allowed overnight parking. There were Walmarts everywhere, and they all said no. So I didn't want to stay in Hartford. I just kind of figured this was the best option. I'm kind of a little disappointed because I wanted to test my bed out, but it is what it is, right? So I asked for a sign that this was the right sign, or this was the right thing to do, and came here and got room 111. So I think it was meant to be this way. So on to the next spot tomorrow.